Once again, good morning. And I welcome those watching online. You know, I did last week. I was out in the middle of the ocean watching Chris fill in for me last week, and he did such a great job. And, I mean, he did so good, I was afraid y'all wouldn't want me back. But you know, we welcome those watching online. I know it's important because, like I said, I couldn't be here last week, but I was able to watch online, which is a wonderful thing. And I was able to watch online in the middle of the ocean, which is even more spectacular. But, you know, a lot of times we go over to, you know, a cruise or something, and to get there, we may even have to go over a bridge. A lot of you may have had to go over a bridge to get here this morning. Bridges have been part of human history for more than 3,000 years. I learned this week that Lake Pontchartrain Causeway in Louisiana is the world's second longest continuous bridge over water. The world's longest bridge is the Danyang-Kushan Grand Bridge in China. And it's a high-speed railway and spans 102.4 miles. So it's a big bridge. I mean, well, in our city, and right here in Lee County, we think, well, we have, 5 bridges over the Caloosahatchee. I mean, and then we have the 2 going down to Fort Myers Beach. We got 1 going to Sanibel. But in reality, there's a lot more because there's a lot of bridges going over little places that we don't even think about as being a bridge, but there's a lot of bridges in the city of Fort Myers. There's 101 bridges alone in the city of Fort Myers. Now, bridges will take us from here to there. It's kind of just that simple. There's some barrier that we need to get over. A bridge will help us. And for this series, Dollars and Cents, we're going to take a 4-week journey together. We want to get over a barrier of financial ruin and enslavement. And I want to invite everyone to just take a deep breath. This is not a series about giving to the church or raising money for some project, so your wallet is safe. We're not handing out pledge cards so you can relax. This series is about how to move from here to there in financial bondage to the there in financial freedom. And one way to think about this journey from bondage to freedom is to think about the story of the Hebrews in the Old Testament, the book of Exodus. God's people were enslaved by the cruel Egyptians. And God sent Moses to lead the people from the captivity here in Egypt to freedom there in the Promised Land. So this week I'm going to talk about how good it is in the land of freedom there. Next week we're going to talk about how bad it is to be here in the land of financial bondage. Week 2 and 3 will be, or 3 and 4 will be about how to make the journey from here to there. Now, to set the stage for the goodness and sweetness of the Promised Land, the financial freedom of the there, I do need to help us understand a little bit about the realities of financial bondage here. And Dave Ramsey and the good people at Financial Peace report this overview about Americans and debt. He says, while America is listed among the world's richest nations, the average American debt continues to weigh high on its citizens down. Almost 3 out of 4 Americans, 72%, say that they are burdened by debt, including mortgages, and 2/3 of Americans, 66%, reported consumer debt, with an average of $34,055 in debt load per person. So, folks, you're not alone if this is you. I mean, 72% 3 out of 4 people are on this journey. So don't listen to that lie that it's only you. I think we'd agree that credit card debt can destroy your peace. Polling 1,000 people in America, Financial Peace discovered the following about credit card debt by household income. And I think we have a graph here. This shows the average income and how much debt there is. So the bottom line about this is that it's dangerous. Nature of debt is what it does to our well-being. I mean, that shows the statistic about the money, but the statistic that's staggering is the next one. And the amount of people that worry about debt. And that's a high percentage that worry about debt. And so if you think you're the only one today that's worried about your debt, no, the person next to you is probably as well. So I have to wonder how much of our societal anger, how much of our community violence, how much of our marital issues, how much of our business distress is directed, linked to the worry and anxiety, depression, the worry created by debt. Back when I first moved away from home, I worked for a theater chain, and I moved to West Palm Beach. And if you've never been there, West Palm Beach is the kind of town that, well, rich folks live in. And I weren't one. Just to find a place to rent took all of the money because it was more than 2 paychecks to pay the rent. And I survived by eating popcorn at the theater because it was free. And that's kind of why I don't eat popcorn anymore to this day. You will never catch me at one of our church movie nights eating popcorn. I have had my fill. Now, thankfully, while I was there too, McDonald's ran this promotion where they had their regular hamburgers for 29 cents, limit 10 per customer. Well, I would go buy a bag of 10 hamburgers and put them in the freezer, and I'd pull one out each day and throw it in the microwave, and that was my dinner. But I'm thankful because, I was only there for 3 weeks before I got a promotion and a transfer to Fort Lauderdale. And with each promotion, they gave me a raise. So I was very happy about this. And I went to Fort Lauderdale and had a positive cash flow. But then the money and the things that money buys soon became my idol and got me into trouble. And after losing my job, the credit card debt got higher and higher and higher. And the truth is that what I needed then and what we still need now is God's wisdom and His common sense. Solomon, the wealthiest and wisest man in the days, wrote this in Proverbs 23:23. It says, "Truth, wisdom, learning, and good sense. These are worth paying for, but too valuable for you to sell." Can we all admit together that we need God's truth, His wisdom, and learning and good sense regarding getting out of debt? So, my friends, this is your pastor's heart desire for this series, that we dream of a church filled with women and men who know the joy of managing money and the stuff that money buys with God's good old-fashioned common sense. Because I know many of you, when we pass those plates, I know you want to give. But it's that debt, it's those bills that keep you from doing so. I want us to get past that. So let me say before we move ahead, these 4 messages will not only help us, we're only going to help us so far. The dive deep on this happens at the Financial Peace University class that is going to be begin on Wednesday nights, September 25th at the Cape campus. And let me say this about, as an ordinary Christ follower, this class transformed Jamie and my financial situation and has given us amazing peace. And we learned how to save. And the fact that we went on a cruise last week kind of proves that, because that's what we did. We saved for that cruise. And I think I have a picture here that I took from our balcony on the ship between Mexico and the Keys. And it occurred to me yesterday, and I shared this with the guys at the men's breakfast. God's plan is so much better than ours. Because Jamie and I had planned to take a cruise for our 10th anniversary. And that didn't happen because, well, we just couldn't really afford it last year. So 11 years in, God's timing is much better than ours. We got to take that cruise. Now, our idea was to take a 3-day cruise to the Bahamas. That was our idea. But God kind of intervened because of what happened. Instead of a 3-day cruise to the Bahamas, the cruise line ended up giving us a 4-day cruise to Mexico, which is better than we planned. And also, I've been to the Bahamas about 3 times. I've never been to Mexico. God blessed us with His plan, and not by listening to our own voices and what we planned and what we tried to do. All right, Financial Peace University is going to take place. I want you to watch this short little video clip.
Financial peace. We all want it. For a while, I didn't have it. 20 years ago, I hit rock bottom. I lost just about everything. I turned to God for help, and I learned how to handle money His way. As you can imagine, it worked. That's why I started Financial Peace University, because God's ways work. Whether you're in over your head or you're doing okay right now, if you bring home $10,000 or $10 million, if you're 21 or 61, we all need a plan. Millions of people have been through Financial Peace University. They have success stories of their own. They've learned how to get rid of debt, prepare for generations to come, and give like crazy. Your success story, your financial peace is up to you. Now is your time. It's time to take control of your money. It's time to get ready for what God has for you. It's time for financial peace.
So if you're interested, you can go to Grace Church online and sign up for that, egracechurch.com. And like I say, it helped Jamie and I. We cut up all of our credit cards. And to this day, we have managed to stay credit card debt free. So how good will it be in the land of financial freedom? Let's do a cost analysis from the Bible and consider what the life there in the land of financial freedom will be like. And there are many results, but our teaching team chose the 3 benefits that we should consider. And these are the fruits of the financial freedom tree. So first, when I am financially free, I'll live a life of undeniable contentment. And Philippians 4:11 through 13 says, "Not that I was ever in need, for I have learned how to be content with whatever I have. I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it's with a full stomach or empty, with plenty or little. For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength." And Philippians 4 is one of those rare places where Paul gives us a glimpse into his financial life. And let me remind you of what his life was like Paul was a church planter in the first century, but Paul was one of those people that had been both Jewish and Roman. His dad was a Roman, that's clear, and it appears that his mother was a Jew. And this gives him entree into both worlds. And after a powerful conversion, Paul was called by Jesus to take the good news to non-Jews, the one the Bible calls Gentiles. And his assignment from Jesus was to go to pagan cities and establish little missionary outposts for the movement. Jesus called them churches. And these were home groups that met in that region. And remember, there were no church buildings until around the 300s. So how did Paul support himself financially? From his letters, we gather that when he made his way into a city, he would work as a tent maker. You see, Paul was bivocational, a missionary, and also Paul refused to take support money from the churches that he planted. So unlike many of us, Paul didn't get a paycheck deposited on the 15th or on the last of the month. So when he says he learned to live on much or little, he means it. He's lived it. And yet the deeper reality for Paul's financial life was that he had learned to live a contented life. Paul's saying, "For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength." It was not some shallow declaration. Paul had learned the secret of whether he had a lot or he had nothing at all. In Christ, he had learned to endure and be satisfied and content. Dallas Willard is one of my favorite authors. And he wrote this. He said, "Arrange your life so that you are experiencing deep contentment, joy and confidence in your everyday life with God." Connecting Paul's declaration about financial contentment with Dallas's statement about spiritual contentment, I think it's safe to say that the depth of our connection to Jesus has everything to do with our financial peace. When the river of my connection to Jesus runs deep, my financial contentment rises too. And it's been said that you can tell more about a person spiritual life by looking at their checkbook than at their prayer book. And I'd say both are important, but intimately connected to a well soul, a follower who abides deeply in Christ will know financial peace. And this is ours there, the land of financial freedom. So second, when I am financially free, I'll live a life of radical generosity. And it says in 2 Corinthians 9, 7 through 8, you must each decide in your heart how much to give. And don't give reluctantly or out of response to pressure, for God loves a person who gives cheerfully. And God will generously provide all you need. Then you will always have everything you need and plenty left over to share with others. Paul is writing to to followers of Jesus who were making a financial gift to the mother church in Jerusalem that was suffering under extreme poverty. And Paul teaches us a principle about the attitude of giving of any kind. It's to be intentionally done and to be done with great joy, no arm twisting, no silly promises, just simple, deliberate, jubilant giving. See, my grandparents attended here when this first became a church in 1922. And they made it through the Depression. And they raised 5 kids in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house just a couple of blocks from here on Franklin Street. And they did not have a lot of money, but they had God who saw to their needs. Now, my dad, he was FPU before FPU was cool. He never in his life had a credit card. His motto was, if I can't pay for it, I don't need it. He made pretty good money managing A&W Glad's farm back in the 40s through the 70s. But you would never know it. I mean, we had a house on 5.5 acres that he would, or maybe I should say that I kept meticulously beautiful at his request. But our house where 6 kids were raised, once again, was 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. My dad made good money, but growing up, I never knew that. We did not go out to eat. He never took us to Disney World. But my mom and dad never worried about money. They budgeted, they saved. And because they were so diligent, they became intentional and joyful givers. And you can too. This is our land of financial freedom. Third, when I'm financially free, I'll live a life of extravagant love. Romans 13:8 says, owe nothing to anyone except for your obligation to love one another. If you love your neighbor, you will fulfill the requirements of God's law. So Paul makes an amazing connection between being financially free and being free to just simply love people. And I love this simple idea of owing no one anything except the gift of love. The Greek word here is agape. And in Greek, the language of the New Testament, there is 3 primary words used for love. There's eros, the love that describes physical or sexual love. There's philo, that describes brotherly, sisterly, or a family love that we give to a family member or to friends who are like family. And then there's this word agape that describes an unconditional love that God has for us and that we can give in return to others. Paul invites us, freed followers of Jesus, to give this kind of undeserved love to one another. A few years ago, as Jamie and I were leaving on a Wednesday night here from the dinner, there was a single mother sitting out in the parking lot with her 2 kids, waiting on a ride. And a couple in this church asked her if, she needed transportation, and she, oh yes, I desperately need a car. And then the couple asked, can you drive a stick shift? She said yes. And they told her to come to the movie night on Saturday. And at movie night, this mother was given the keys to a car. Not a new car, mind you, but a working, drivable car. You see, they were practicing what Paul talks about here, that agape love. But let's be honest, the inverse of Paul's teaching is sadly also true. When we are burdened by financial concerns, we are reduced in our abilities to love people extravagantly. Everything from our time to emotional energy are robbed away from us when we're living here in the land of financial slavery instead of there in the land of financial freedom. And the constant white noise that takes place about our financial troubles preoccupies our head, our heart, and our hands. It's not that we don't want to extend our time, our talents, and our treasures as an expression of love. It's that we can't. And when I think about how living free from financial burdens frees us up to just love people, my mind thinks of people that have taken this financial peace class and has helped these people get delivered from financial ruin. I'm going to invite the band to come back up. We want our financial journey from here in bondage to there in freedom to begin with this series. And although it may be a hard journey, it's so worth it to travel this road, which will take sacrifice and changing old attitudes and ideas on our very set ways. And next week we'll learn about the barriers and the roadblocks we face on the way to financial freedom. And there are many. But today, let's be encouraged. We know, as we imagine how we get from here to financial stress, from there to financial freedom, God's way, we will have contentment and the ability to do more generously and even have more to do enough love. And the trip from here to there is worth it. People are welcomed well here at Grace Church. At least I hope you feel welcomed here. But all the people serving here have something in common. They love Jesus and they love people. So today I want you to think about the Financial Peace University class that will be offered at the Cape campus. It may be something for you. Or, if that's not an option for you, hopefully through this series, you will learn a thing or two about what it means to go from here to there. And with God's help, we can make it. Well, the band is back up. We're going to do one more song. And if something today has struck a chord with you, if you're worried about finances, if you're worried about how I'm going to pay that next bill, and believe me, I can kind of come alongside you, because when Jamie and I got back from the cruise, we walked in the house and it was 85 degrees. Our air conditioner had decided to die. So that was a bill we weren't expecting. But you know what? God's got this. And I don't have to worry about it. And if you don't want to have to worry about whatever that thing is in your life, come to the altar as this song is played, because He can take away that worry and replace it with joy. Let's stand and worship together.